In 2014, the extraordinarily mysterious playable teaser appeared within the PlayStation Store for the Sony PlayStation 4 console for download. The original focus of the visionary concept was a then reboot for the Silent Hill franchise. The main focus of the teaser was the mysterious ghost only known as Lisa. After the cancellation of Silent Hills at the time, there were almost immediate plans for a playable teaser-inspired horror game being that of Allison Road. In 2015, a promotional footage was released online with almost immediate comparisons by critics as well as gamers for what could have been a theoretical spiritual successor to the playable teaser of Silent Hills. Also, originally the funding for the game was crowdfunded, but was later receiving financial backing from Team 17, a then British video game developer. All details of the game were intentionally left vague to attract attention, as well as be intentionally similar to the playable teaser of Silent Hills. The player of Allison Road assumed the control of an unnamed protagonist who had just awakened in his townhouse with a massive headache of unknown causes. As he later mentions that he needed to find some sort of aspirin to dull the pain. Attempting to look through the home for where he had put the pain medication, the unnamed protagonist notices details throughout the residence and is somewhat confused with what he sees, as familiar objects to him being that of photographs are out of place, incorrect in their details, or just not of his personal possession. All of this hints to the player that the unnamed protagonist is suffering from some sort of memory loss or memory impairment due to his headache. Eventually finding the needed medication, the unnamed protagonist then realizes that he needs water to drink with the tablet headache medication and decides to further explore the home, slowly realizing that he's being stalked by some sort of paranormal entity. Details from items, the photographs, as well as letters depicted in the footage gives a possible glimpse into the details of what exactly had occurred with his family, and the evidence suggests that they were victims of a vague crime not fully mentioned in the sample footage. At the very end of the concept trailer, the unnamed protagonist is then attacked by someone as the footage ends. However, critics as well as gamers remarked at how the concept footage looked almost exactly like the playable teaser, with some eventually calling the similarities a blatant rip-off of the playable teaser. Christian Kilser, a developer who was one of the main people involved with the game's production, made public comments to try and explain the concepts of Allison Road, as well as trying to explain its similarities to the playable teaser. The feel of the residence scene, with the pictures on photographs as well as other details being specific references to the playable teaser, as well as the ghostly apparition of Lily, who visually looked, sounded and acted like Lisa from the playable teaser. Financial troubles as well as a clear lack of leadership for the development of the game were prevalent throughout 2015 and 2016. Frustrated gamers eventually considered Christian Kills to be one of the reasons why the game was in its troubled state at the time, as these speculations were later proven to be correct as from information now known. The problems that eventually consumed the game were too much for him to handle, and in 2019 he quietly pursued other interests and left the video game of Allison Road in failure, with the video game itself eventually being cancelled. Sometimes a character can be forgotten because the concept for a game led to inspiration for another, but lack of decisive leadership led to the spiritual successor to be forgotten.